Hello and welcome to our London History podcast, where we share our love of London, its people, places and history in 20-minute espresso shot episodes, served with a dash of personality. I am your host, Hazel Baker, London tour guide and CEO of London Guided Walks, providing private tours, treasure hunts, guided walks and live London quizzes to Londoners and visitors alike. Don't forget to accompany this podcast. We also have great show notes, including pictures, and we also have a London history related blog post for you to enjoy. Latest blog posts include the sad past of Danson House, Lime Street's brief moment of capitalism, and also Walter Sickert. And we also have our second podcast called The Daily London, providing you with daily inspiration Monday to Friday of things to do in London for Londoners. Yes, even in lockdown 2.0. You can listen to on all of the normal channels, including our website, londonguidedwalks.co.uk/flash. And as you know, the tours that we do, even the virtual ones, are all above ground. But what about the hidden London history beneath our feet? Joining me today is Siddy Holloway, Hidden London Engagement Manager at London Transport Museum, and is a historical expert on London's disused stations.
Yes, indeed. I mean, it's such a fascinating subject, and a lot of people get very excited when I tell them what I do because it's sort of, I don't know, spooky and secret, and people are very fascinated by what lies beyond those closed doors that you're not allowed to go through.
And how did you get into all of this?
It's one of those things that is incredibly bizarre about the world, isn't it? It's somehow one thing led to another. So I'm originally from Iceland. I've lived in the UK for over 10 years now. I moved over to do a BA in acting in drama school. And when I was finishing drama school, I needed to find sort of a stage name. So Siddy is my actual name, but Holloway is my stage name. And I was trying to figure out how to, get a good stage name. And finding a last name for yourself isn't the easiest thing in the world. And Holloway came because I was on the Piccadilly line, and I saw the next stop was Holloway Road, and I liked it so much that I decided to keep it as a name. And then fast forward a few years, and I got a job with the London Transport Museum after having been a London walking guide for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
I know it seems like we all start sort of, the streets call us.
They most certainly do.
And yeah, they were setting up a new program called Hidden London at the time, and it was kind of a very new concept. And they asked me if I wanted to kind of lend my guiding expertise to the project, and I of course was really thrilled to do that. And we've grown from there.
Now, I know the tickets to your Hidden London tours, they sell like hotcakes. And one of the silver linings, I suppose, to Lockdown 2.0 is that you are offering virtual tours in places that we couldn't necessarily get physical access to at normal times.
Yeah, so I mean, the virtual tours came as an idea after. So when lockdown happened, of course, we had to stop, delivering at all our sites, as did the entire world, and we all stayed at home. And we decided to we started this small thing called the Hidden London Hangouts, which is our YouTube series. And really, it was just the four of us kind of chatting about some of our sites, and we just thought, maybe a few people would watch it. But through doing that, we sort of got to know Zoom, as again the entire world did, and we got to know sort of how brilliantly that format actually works and how you can interact with people. And so when we kind of came back to thinking about how to do something that would be engaging and exciting, we thought about doing virtual tours, and we wanted it to be something kind of different. So we didn't want to just convert our pre-existing tours into virtual ones. We wanted to offer something that we could never take people into anyway, due to site restrictions, or the fact that some of them are simply like, you cannot bring people in there anymore, and we happened to be very lucky to go in there a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
um, so we just thought it'd be something completely different.
Yeah, I totally hear you. With our virtual tours, we've done the same. It's a combination of imagery, but also video and pictures from the past and places that you could talk about, but not necessarily visit or see, and all of that coming together, rather than it being just a presentation via Zoom. And people really appreciate that extra effort, don't they?
Yeah, it's been an amazing success because people are sort of hungry for to do something different, and these places, as I said before, they have this kind of pull about them. People are, especially if there are any remnants of it on the surface when people walk past, and many people have often wondered for maybe years, what is that building? It looks like a tube station, but it's not open. What is it, and what did it do? And so the virtual tours have been such a brilliant project, and I'm really proud of how it's come, kind of how it's progressing.
Holborn is a huge station and the tour is 90 minutes. So, how do you cram it all in? What do people get to experience?
It's interesting you say that because Holborn, it's kind of an interesting site, and really, I mean, we decided to name it Holborn brackets Kingsway, but really what we're doing in the tour is we're actually going to three different sites. What we're really trying to encapsulate is that entire area that got regenerated at the turn of the 20th century by the London County Council. So we're sort of including the Kingsway tram tunnel, we're including Holborn station, particularly platforms 5 and 6, which are of course disused today, and then we're going to sort of take people down the tunnel all the way to Aldwych and talk about how Aldwych was potentially going to be extended and kind of linked to Waterloo in the 60s, but that never happened. So we're traveling far and wide. So it's going to be a smack full tour of all these goodies that people have never seen before.
So, you've done all the dirty work for us then. We don't have to get
Um,
all grubby like I imagine you did.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, I feel like, I feel like my skin breaks out now if I don't have dust on it or dirt on it. Sort of like, where's all the kind of brake dust? I need it. Yeah, we've done it all for you. So it's just brilliant to be able to bring something that people are loving and that people are joining from all over the world too. But having Londoners kind of interacting with one another and sharing stories sometimes, which is I think is such a lovely thing. People kind of join the tours and say, oh, I was there in this year and I saw that, or
Hmm.
I used to travel through there, and I can't believe it's closed now. And so it's been really a really great experience.
And what's the relationship between the British Museum and Holborn Station? Is there a secret tunnel?
I mean, the site used to obviously be part of British Museum Station because, of course, that was the station on the Central Line before the two kind of merged together
Hmm.
in the 1930s. So Holborn used to only be a station for the Piccadilly line, and British Museum was kind of across the street, very far away from the actual British Museum. It's got to be said. The station was nowhere near it really. And so the two weren't linked, and then they were linked together in the 1930s, and the central line had sort of be kind of reconfigured for that. But for there to be a secret tunnel between the two, unfortunately, I've not seen any remnants of that. But you never know. There could be something. There's a lot under the ground in London that we are still just discovering today.
Yeah, very true. Brompton Road is another venue that you're focusing on for the virtual tours. What,
Mhm.
what piqued your interest to deliver that one? I don't know very much about it.
Ah, Brompton Road, honestly, it's that along with the other tour that we do, which is King William Street, is really known in the transport geek world as the holy grail of disused stations,
Oh.
um, because it is the reason why it's so kind of why it's such an urban legend, so to speak, is because you can't actually access it from the surface.
Mm.
You have to go there via the tunnels. And the way you do that, the only way really to access Brompton Road is to board a Piccadilly line train with the driver and the driver's cab, and then detrain in the middle of the tunnel. And the only way you can do that is to board an actual passenger train. So it feels like the most James Bond secret thing you'll
Yeah.
ever do in your life. And that's also the reason why we'll never be able to do tours there, physical tours, because you can only fit like 3 people in a driver's. Brompton Road is a really amazing site, and the reason why it's not accessible I'll get to in a second. So it was on the Piccadilly line. It's between Knightsbridge and South Kensington, hence the name Brompton Road.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it was a fairly beautiful station. It was set right on Brompton Road itself. And it was kind of those typical Leslie Green kind of oxblood tiles
Mm-hmm.
and all the lovely acanthus leaf design inside the ticket hall. But being located where it was in a very affluent part of London, with its 2 neighbouring stations being, well, better located really for anything that you would be kind of seeking in that area, it never really gained kind of a lot of custom. So it very quickly after opening in 1906, it just sort of started to dwindle. There were a few stations on the Piccadilly line that really never picked up much traffic. So by the 1930s, when Knightsbridge, its neighbouring station, was getting a new escalator fitted in, its first escalator, because of course it was operated with lifts before, it moved the entrance of Knightsbridge station sort of closer, sort of down towards Harrods, and so closer towards Brompton Road, and that just meant that the station was made redundant. It really just wasn't used. So they closed it on the 31st of July 1934, and it kind of quickly became sort of forgotten. That is until the Second World War. The station was bought by the War Department to become the headquarters for the 1st Division of the Anti-Aircraft Department of the Territorial Army. So basically all of the ARP defences for London and sort of the southeast were coordinated from Brompton Road tube station during the Second World War. So it's a fascinating place, and most of the remnants of that are still in situ on the platforms when you go and visit. Even the lift shafts were converted into 4 situation rooms, all of which you've still got maps on the wall. The paint is still there, some of the equipment's still there. So it's honestly like stepping into a movie set or something. It feels completely ridiculous that it's still there after all these years, and it's real, but the reason why you can't access it from the surface is because the surface level building was sold by the Ministry of Defence in 2014. So it's actually it's been capped off completely as it's going to be converted into, I believe, a block of flat, but there's some delay in that construction project. So the only way to access this insane, amazing, incredible pocket of history in the centre of London is via a driver's cab on the Piccadilly line, or if you're really keen, as we've done a couple of times, you show up at Knightsbridge station at 1 a.m. in the morning after all the electricity goes off the rails, and you walk down the tunnel, which we have done, and we stayed there when we were filming for the virtual tour. We stayed there until 5 a.m. shooting, and we had a member of staff with us who, from London Underground, who was there kind of supervising and making sure we were okay. And he was kind of going, right, guys, if you don't go out of here in the next 30 minutes, they're going to switch the power on and you're going to be in trouble. So we just couldn't believe it, because it just, I went there for the first time back in 2017, but some of the parts of the station back then were actually still locked up or closed. So the lift shafts, for example, weren't accessible. But when we went this time, everything was open. So it was just like, we were like kids in a candy store, and we recorded all of this incredible footage. And it's the first time this stuff has ever been shown. I mean, I had never even seen photos of some of these sites, especially like the spiral staircase, all of the witness marks. We'd never seen any of it. There are no historical photos that exist of it. So it's just been like, it's been a dream, Hazel. It's been an absolute dream.
You were giving me goosebumps. You really are.
It's honestly, it's been, and just what a treat for us also that we had this impetus to create this virtual tour. And in doing so, we've just preserved so much valuable information for the future. That's also something that we always think about is, what are we gathering? What are we bringing to the collection? What kind of stuff are we actually preserving for future generations? So it's been great. So Brompton Road is an absolute must, especially if you're if you're a bit of a Second World War kind of enthusiast, or anything to do with secret secret bunkers or anything like that. It really hits the spot. At least it does for me.
And while you're waiting for the next virtual tour with Siddy, then perhaps you'd like to listen to episode 7 of our podcast, True London Spy Stories, with Rob Smith. So telling stories of World War II and a little bit of James Bond thrown in. Excellent. And then what about King William Street?
King William Street is, well, if Brompton Road is in the Holy Grail, then King William Street certainly is. So King William Street is the first disused tube station, or deep tube station, I should add, in London. It was the terminus of the first deep tube in London that was ever built, which was called the City and South London Railway, which reached from Stockwell in the south of London up to King William Street in the City of London, which is right next to the monument. And this line opened in 1890, and as I said, was the first sort of tunneled deep tube in the world, and one of the first electric railways in the country after, I believe, the Brighton Pier Railway, which wasn't quite the same, but it was an electric railway. And it was a complete pioneer. It changed the game, so to speak. And King William Street was the terminus, the city terminus for this line. And you might be thinking, where is this line today? It's of course a part of the Northern Line. It was the terminus. It was the sort of end point, and it only survived for under 10 years. So it opened in 1890, but closed in February of 1900. And the reason is that the station was just simply not poorly constructed, but it was in a very inconvenient place. Because of course, this was the first time anyone had ever dug anything like it.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of didn't really know what they were facing or how it would all work. And particularly at the time, electric traction was such a new concept that they weren't really sure if there were particular inclines that would be too much for those early locomotives, or if all sorts of engineering problems essentially started presenting themselves as soon as they opened.
Mm-hmm.
And so when the proposal to extend the line came in sort of in the late 1890s, they decided the most cost-effective way to extend the line would actually be to bypass King William Street and go straight from Borough up to London Bridge and then to Bank, and leave that little kind of branch of King William Street just as it was. We go over why they did that and what the engineering problems were, and why they kind of had all of these difficulties. We actually show people in place why it was an impossible station to do anything with, really. So yeah, they left it in 1900, and then after that, as I say, it's 120 years since it closed, let alone opened, closed. So it's this gorgeous kind of remnant of this old, Victorian deep underground architecture that really you just don't see in many places anymore. And it's also doing it's had a few jobs since its since it got sacked from its original one. Every time I've been there, I'm always just like, oh my God, I can't believe this is still here, because it feels like industrial archaeology, going into these places. It really feels like touching the history of the recent past, but that shouldn't really exist anymore because everything gets swiped away for the new these days. So something like that surviving still is just incredibly exciting.
Well, your excitement is infectious, Siddy. I was sitting here with goosebumps, trying to work out which of the virtual tours I can get on first, really.
You should come on all of them, Hazel, I think.
I think I might have to. I just want to know more, and I just cannot wait to get that cup of tea and join you online.
It's real fun. I would say it's mostly just fun, and it's fun to kind of explore these places together.
Well, thank you so much, Siddy, for joining us today. I just can't wait now. I'm really excited, but it's been an absolute pleasure having you on today. So thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I can't wait to, get you on a tour and show you some of the secret stuff.
That's all we've got time for now, but thanks very much for joining us. And if you've enjoyed it, then please do leave a review. It's lovely to hear all of your lovely comments and all the information you need for the Hidden London book, or to get your place on a virtual tour with Siddy is on our website londonguidedwalks.co.uk/podcast. And if you have any suggestions for future episodes about a Londoner or a London place or a particular time in history, then please do let me know. Get in touch by Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. The old-fashioned email works still even now. Send us your requests and I'll do my best.